Hello everybody, Sky Bunny here with Higurashi no Naku Koro ni. Alright, so chapter 3. Allow me to introduce you. This is Major Takano. Right, government bullcrap. Major, this is Dr. Kyosuke Irie. Oh. Hello, I'm Irie. It's been on. Irie seemed extremely nervous at our first meeting. He probably thought I was in charge of some suspicious organization. Which you are. Please relax. Call me Takano. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it. Forgot, I gave him a British accent, I think. Please, have a seat. A model lower middle-class citizen was a good way to describe Kyosuke Irie's demeanor. One could also say he was the stereotypical type of person to get conveniently discarded after those crafty elders used their seniority to... He certainly doesn't seem as cunning as I am. But that doesn't mean he isn't ambitious. Like me, he's a young person who dreams of accomplishing something great and leaving his name upon generations to come. While he acts humble in person like this, his articles were actually progressive as well as aggressive. The gap between the two was quite intense. I've read the data concerning this Hinamizawa syndrome. What did you think? Well, it's really quite the shock. It's very possible that this is something that steps out onto the dark side of today's medicine, but I can hardly control my intellectual excitement in knowing it's a mystery that's just to be solved. Hearing that made me chuckle. Irie is more than interested in Hinamizawa syndrome, which is good enough for me. She had been through the ringer with far too many people to reach this day. So her own honed intuition could tell. She would get along well with this man. Even if he isn't too useful to me, he won't cause any problems. For me and my sponsor, he's the best person possible for the job. I'm shocked too. To imagine a man of your experience and knowledge was just wasting away in the medical office without any responsibilities or work to accomplish. I have to say that was a grave loss to the medical field. Irie laughed. He probably thought I didn't know, but I had received detailed documents on him, so I knew why he was exiled from the limelight despite his rare talent and achievements. He displayed extraordinary skill working under a neurosurgery expert, and everyone expected a bright future from him. But he was kicked out due to an ethical controversy. Irie's pet theory was that the antisocial behavior of individuals could be explained by brain disorders. He believed that no one in this world was born a villain, and that they were all just poor patients in need of treatment. I agree. He proposed that they were all proper and normal when born, yet as they matured, psychogenesis and various exogenous factors caused brain disorders that made them into villains. Well, I mean, you can be born with factors that... Like in my case, my body produces less serotonin than a normal person, which is why I have an anxiety disorder, but then my surroundings caused other things that enhanced the anxiety disorder, leading to my personality disorder. So, I mean, it's both things. Therefore, what those evil people need isn't punishment, it's treatment. And if their diseases are treated, they will become good citizens again. That manner of thinking actually fell in line with the Confucian belief of innate human goodness. According to this theory, humans are born with a capacity for altruism toward their kind, and it's only afterward that they learn and acquire cruelty. I think that's true. Irie believed that acquisition was the result of brain disorders. The human brain creates human thoughts. Therefore, if one becomes emotionally ill, that means their brain is ill. So if their brain gets treatment, they will recover emotionally too. That field was called psychosurgery. See, and this is why I have a hard time getting back into this novel. Like, this is more interesting because I myself suffer from a personality disorder. But what the fuck does it have to do with the story? I know it's explaining Irie's why he got like kicked out or whatever, but it's just like it's we really don't need this. It's fallen out of practice in the current Heisei area, but the surgical techniques were applauded until mid-Showa, especially since it produced spectacular results on a chronic mental patient that was said to be incurable. The man who invented it even won a Nobel Prize. That was how revolutionary it was. Humans think that's why they become ill. Everyone knows that's why those who overthink matters are prone to mental illness. When the organ that thinks and debates grow ill, humans deviate from social behavior. That part is called the frontal lobe. Put simply, psychosurgery is surgery performed to operate on the frontal lobe. Oh, was he doing like lobotomies and whatever? This kind of surgery doesn't require removing the whole epicranium. A small hole is drilled through the cranium and special scalpel is inserted down to cut it. Yeah, it's not major surgery, just a technique for quickly operating on the precious frontal lobe. Wait, you did that? Indeed, it was revolutionary in its simplicity. All the severely ill mental patients miraculously recovered, so the technique spread around the world quickly. Those with obstinate and chronic mental illnesses, the severely ill trapped in deep, inescapable depression. All of those that could be saved by this technique. Throughout history, humans have come up with many different religions and magic tricks to heal emotional injuries. So, needless to say, the idea of being able to treat them with a surgical technique was truly revolutionary. Irie admired psychosurgery and pushed forward in the field of surgical techniques to treat human souls. However, from the modern human's rights standpoint, severing a portion of the brain simply because someone is emotionally disturbed is absolutely out of the question. People gradually started to think differently and said that psychosurgery was inhumane. The frontal lobe controls how people think, but it is also the part that makes humans act human. There were quite a few cases where the cut caused drastic, irreversible changes in the patient. A baseless happiness born from the lack of thought. A change in personality. A loss of interest in everything. Major mood swings due to lack of control over one's emotions. Some even lost part of their memories. Of course, some didn't even survive the surgery. By the mid-1960s, use of psychosurgery declined. Also, due to the development of psychotropic medicine, the surgery was hardly performed anymore anyway. Yet some people still believed in the idea and continued to perform the surgery and gather clinical data. They wanted people to recognize the value of this technique once again. You know, I really didn't have anything against Irie. I thought he was fine. Just, like, actually trying to help. But now little bit biased, not gonna lie. And this is coming from Takano speaking, who is the most evil person on the planet. Some of these surgeries were performed without consent. One theory is that in Japan alone there were thousands of people who woke up from general anesthesia, only to find part of their brain had been removed. That's terrifying. Today, to perform such a surgery without a patient's consent is considered totally unethical. But it was different at the time. For one thing, the idea that doctors required prior patient consent was proliferated in the modern Heisei area. Therefore, people at the time didn't think it was that big of an issue. It was only later that people started to argue it was inhumane. Finally, a decision was reached and the curtain closed with the rejection of psychosurgery. Later, the Japanese Society of Psychology and Neurology passed the resolution to end psychosurgery. After that, psychosurgery was banned throughout Japan and made a forbidden subject of Japanese medicine. Irie was the leading person in the field of psychosurgery. He continued to advocate its effectiveness and results. Therefore, he was treated as a war criminal who practiced inhumane medicine, and he was exiled from the public eye. However, that doesn't mean he changed his beliefs. He still believes that immoral behavior is caused by brain disorders, and the secret of treating them is in fact hidden in the brain. So, the existence of Hinamizawa syndrome caused by parasites living in the brain that control human emotions actually affirms his theory. If it's all right with you, I would love to accept this position. Of course. Given Irie's history, he would never turn down this offer. Despite his mild-mannered appearance, Irie was possessed by mighty ambition. There was no way he didn't desire a chance to complete research that would prove himself to the medical society that ostracized him. I'm handing him that chance on a silver platter. Thank you very much. I knew you'd accept. We are very lucky to have an expert like you. You'll be a great help. But are you okay with me being the director? Wouldn't it be better for you to hold that position, Takano? I'm just a simple doctor. Being in charge of other people is... Don't worry. I'll give you my full support. Our sponsor wanted to pick a civilian. Besides, wouldn't you like to be called... Director, idiot? Well... But... Irie laughed to hide his embarrassment. We're building a research center in Hinamizawa. Publicly, it will be a clinic. So, with your consent, Dr. Irie, we'd like to call it the Irie Clinic. Lord of my own castle! That's more than I deserve. You'll also be placed under the SDF, so you'll be registered as a medical officer with them. Since you'll be my superior, you'll be a lieutenant colonel. So see, this was all planned, putting him in this position so that if anything happened, he would be the one blamed, not her. Which is what we saw at the end of the last one, right? Like, Irie was the one that got publicly blamed. Lieutenant Colonel Irie, how does that sound to you? I'm not a military man. I'd rather refrain from being called Lieutenant Colonel. Director is already frightening a title as it is. Oh my. He's getting a chance to research brain parasites, plus being given the title of director of a new clinic as camouflage. Plus, it comes with staff and funding. He'll even have support from the Defense Agency and the Ministry of Health and Welfare, as well as a research lab with state-of-the-art equipment. No wonder he's laughing so excitedly. However, there are some risks too. Since he'll be involved with this secret research, he has an obligation to keep it a secret. Also, he's going to an area plagued by a mysterious and bizarre disease. There's no guarantee he won't contract it himself. But Irie is too young to even think about those things. Aware of all the risks, he quickly signed the contract with the ambition to have people recognize his talent once again. When I saw him sign the contract, I finally realized. I knew he would agree to join us, but at the same time, I was afraid of the chance that he'd refuse. Selecting a director proved more difficult than expected, and the only candidate that Takano paired well with was Irie. Why does it sometimes go from her view to third-person view? I don't get it. So, if Irie refused to take the position, then frankly, she'd be placed in an even worse situation. Now that Irie has agreed to take the position, research on the Hinamizawa syndrome can finally begin. The research center, or rather the clinic, will be completed next spring. The Ministry of Health and Welfare and the Defense Agency will send the best equipment and staff, plus an abundant supply of funds. Then finally, our research will begin in earnest. See, it switched back again. Everything's going well. Of course it is. I put so much effort into making things went smoothly up to this point. Alright, that's it. Congratulations, Director Irie. Major, the contract has been signed. Thank you. I look forward to working with you, Director Irie. I look forward to working with you too, Takano. I hope we could get along. I'll be devoting my best efforts to this. No, thank you. Let's both give it our best. Now the position of director has been filled, everything is set. That's great, just great. Congratulations, Takano. No, Major Takano, isn't it? This was all possible thanks to your assistance. I must give my thanks to all of you. Oh, don't mention it. But we should save our congratulations until you finish your research, huh? You're only at the starting line, aren't you? Exactly. I'll be devoting my every waking moment to this research. We can hardly wait to see the results of what Dr. Takano couldn't finish. Well now, Sensei, let's not talk about business today. Let's have a toast to congratulate Takano in the Irie Institute. I don't know who this is, so he's just getting my normal voice. Hello everyone, I'm Nagata from the Ministry of Health and Welfare. I would like to say a few things before the toast. Takano, make sure he works hard, alright? His research center will be supporting the institute. If you need any technical support, just call him. Oh, is this, camera guy? Make him work hard? No. I have to thank you for your support. I'm Takano. Pleased to meet you. Takano, let me introduce you to these gentlemen. Oh, there's the camera guy. Meet Tomatake-kun and Okunogi-kun from the Self-Defense Force. They're your backup from the SGF. I'll let them introduce themselves. Ooh, look at him. Nice to meet you. I'm Tomatake. I've been commanded to serve as auditor of this project. I look forward to working with you. The funding for our research is largely coming from the SDF. It's only natural for the SDF to assign a watchdog to make sure reasonable research is taking place. However, someone in a position like that should be my opponent. Why was someone in that position invited to this private party? Does that mean this auditor is on my side too? Seeing that through thorough groundwork, I couldn't help but feel the strength of having a sponsor all over again. I won't be staying in Hinamizawa. I'll only come by routinely to check on the progress of the research. No, that's too bad. Hinamizawa is a beautiful place with clean air. Please come visit us anytime, outside of work too. Thank you. I guess I will. If he really is an auditor, I should maintain a good relationship with this man. He'll hold the key to all future adjustments of our funding, so as long as we continue drawing it from the SDF. Oh, this is the Australian guy. I'm Okinoge. Nice to meet ya. He's the commanding officer of the Mountain Dogs, one of the unconventional warfare units. They'll be stationed in Hinamizawa to provide you direct support, Major. Should I consider you my bodyguard, then? Their principal duty is guarding VIPs and preserving secrets. Think of them as your hands and feet and work them hard. Thank you. Tomitake seems to be an honest type for a military man, but this Okinogi person looks the complete opposite. His main job is to preserve secrets, but I bet he's also good with espionage tactics like counterintelligence and information control. That would explain his demeanor. Since the SDF is funding our research on Hinamizawa syndrome, of course this is considered a military operation. Therefore, this research has to be done in secret. I really hate all this government stuff. I know I've said this a lot, but I really hate it. This story would have been 1 bazillion times more interesting if it was actually supernatural. It doesn't, it's not. They wanted to be tricky and make it not easy to figure out, but in the end it just made it less entertaining to me. Besides, it's very reassuring to have some capable of combat working under me. I should maintain a good relationship with him, too. Alright, enough introductions. Come on, Tomitake, you can relax too. Let's put aside our ranks today and have a toast. Well, this is supposed to celebrate the establishment of the Irie Institute. Irie himself isn't here. But that is his job after all. Irie is simply a puppet to fill a seat. Of course, I expect him to help me a little with his expertise, but he's ultimately an outsider. This was supposed to be a gathering where I would show my appreciation to those who helped me establish the Irie Institute. But it has turned into them thanking me for all my efforts. I'm always the one to pour alcohol for others, but today, people are pouring alcohol in my glass. The new participants were trying to make me happy, and all the top people talked to me casually. They all praised me for my hard work and efforts. My research is now recognized by many institutions, and I'm ready to spread my wings open wide. And all the people who are expecting some returns once the research accomplishes something are trying to curry favor with me. But right now, I'm just very grateful regardless of their motives. Let's have a toast to wish the best of luck to Mio Takano, and also to the new Irie Institute. Alright, Sensei, please lead the toast. It's like a dream. I know. This is just the beginning, and I shouldn't be satisfied with this alone. But just for today, I can forget about everything else and enjoy this little celebration. I'm not a heavy drinker. But the drinks taste good tonight, and the more I drink, the happier I get. This is really wonderful. To be called Major by Tomitake and the others is wonderful too. That's the rank my grandfather had during the war. That means I finally caught up with my grandfather. This is only the beginning. From here on, I intend to reach what my grandfather couldn't. This is the best night of my life. Are you sure? Because seriously, you seem like you were getting pretty happy over murdering thousands of people, not millions. I ended leaving to fix my makeup. I'm filled with elation. I need to feel fresh air to calm myself down. My heart is about to explode because I'm so happy and excited to murder millions of people. Oh. I'm sorry. The gathering is taking place a little distance away from the main building. The restroom is in the main building, so I need to walk across the hallway. A beautiful, well-maintained Japanese garden is visible from the hallway. It's raining. I got that. I usually don't like rain, but I don't mind it at all today. I feel like it's even the raindrops are congratulating me, or Kami-sama is crying because of what you're going to do. The cool air feels pleasant on my hot skin. It took me a moment to notice how unsteady my footsteps had become. Maybe I did drink a little too much. It isn't like me to drink more than I can handle. Although, this is a party, so I don't want to embarrass myself. I decided to cool off a little by looking at the beautiful Japanese garden. I found an elegant chair set on a red carpet nearby and sat down on it. Since I was with the associates until now, I was forced to constantly be a guard against embarrassing myself. But now that I was alone, I could let go and truly relax. When I look up at the sky, I realize it's still raining hard, but in the distance, the horizon's a little lighter. Maybe it won't be raining for much longer. Well, that's normal. Rain stops eventually. No matter how cold it is or how hard it's raining, rain stops eventually. I saw a pair of sandals and an umbrella, almost inviting me. So I took them into the garden. The tasteless laughter coming from the party sounds far away. I tilted the umbrella and looked up to the sky. I felt the raindrops hit my face, and gazed up at the sky for a while, forgetting all about my hair getting wet. I thought the rain would cool down my boiling heart, but as my body got cold, I started to feel miserable. Oh, I think this is back to her past. My bare feet were all swollen, and the throbbing pain I felt made them seem twice their normal size. The gravel road continued forever. I didn't even know which direction I was heading in anymore. I could no longer hear my pursuer. Yeah, it's going back to the childhood. I'd probably lost him by running through the woods like mad. My body was covered in scratches. I finally started to feel the pain from that. I felt both cold and hungry. There was no place nearby to take shelter from the rain. I was just a little path in the woods. My worst fear was that I could head up, ending back towards the orphanage. After bolting and losing my sense of direction, I'd crushed that man's finger. I didn't think of bit it off, but I was sure it'd leave a scar. Taking that into consideration, it was very clear to me what kind of torture awaited me back at the orphanage. Therefore, I'd have to reach the House of Love and Mercy. If only it had been daytime, then I could have easily found the right way to go. However, with this rain, there's nothing I could do. I couldn't stop. I had to keep walking until I reached something. I wondered if Eriko and the others had escaped. I didn't know how many people came after us, but at least one came after me. In other words, it meant they had a better chance. Did they reach the House of Love and Mercy? Were they drying themselves with soft towels? And if they still remembered me, would they save the towel for me too? I felt so cold. I wanted to find shelter and sit down, but there was nothing of the sort. I saw a tree that looked like I could take shelter under it, but the branches and leaves were dripping with water. It was then that I realized the sky was gradually getting darker. Would this day end in rain? There were no streetlights where I was. Soon enough, it would be totally dark. Then I wouldn't be able to walk any farther. I wanted to sit down, even if it was raining. But if I did sit down, I probably wouldn't be able to stand again. So I endured. If I hadn't escaped with Eriko and the others, I wouldn't have had to go through such misery. But compared to what I had gone through at the orphanage, this was nothing. Thinking about that was the only way to make myself move. But when I thought about that, it's true that this freezing cold rain was far better than my life at the orphanage. But that was only compared to the life at the orphanage. Was it better than normal lives of kids my age? I didn't even think about that. When my parents were alive, although we weren't rich, we led a normal life. The gentle smiles and forgivable selfishness. The sound of my mother cooking breakfast in the morning. The sound of a newspaper being folded. Precious memories like that. I didn't need anything else. I had plenty of friends. I had fun at school. I didn't like my teacher, but I liked studying. I had everything I needed. That was enough. I never complained. I never did anything bad. So why? Why was this happening to me? Everything went downhill after that train accident. The die of fate kept rolling one. Oh, shut up, Takano. The die never showed its good side to me. If the accident was my fault, then I could have accepted it. But it wasn't. I wasn't even there. I waited for my parents at home. I liked going to the mall with them. We always had a meal at the restaurant in the mall. I always told them to let me know if they were going to the mall. But on that day, they went without me, while I went to my friend's house to play. My friend wasn't in, so I went back home. I didn't see anyone at home and found a note saying they were going to the mall. I regretted going to my friend's house. I waited at home. I bet everyone else regretted you going to your friend's house too. They didn't come home. They were still gone by dinner. I was getting hungry and got angry with my parents for leaving me. I thought they were having dinner at the mall without me. If I hadn't gone to my friend's house, I would be eating dinner at the restaurant too. I love the little flags that came with the kids' meals. I was collecting those flags. And I was trying to collect 20 of them, thinking that once I collected 20, something wonderful would happen. But I couldn't collect 20 of them. I only needed one more. If I had one more, maybe the accident wouldn't have happened. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. A very sad memory of a flag from a kid's meal. I kept waiting for my parents to come home from the mall. Alright, you know what? You can get me to sympathize with Higurashi and Boku no Hero Academia, but you cannot get me to sympathize with this psychotic, crazy bitch. Which is funny. But yeah. If I ate too much, my mother would find out, so I was careful not to gorge myself. Then the phone rang. I assumed it was from my parents. I answered the phone in an angry manner, but it wasn't them. What happened to the house? We'd rented it, so maybe someone else had moved in? What happened to my room? What about my desk and all the flags that were in the right middle drawer? If it wasn't my house anymore, then where was I supposed to go? Even if it remained my house, my parents wouldn't be there to welcome me or protect me. Just because I didn't have my parents to protect me, the whole world became so cruel. How could anyone take me away from the house I was used to living in, just because my parents were gone? Why didn't they just leave me alone? They asked me so many things. They tried to confirm many things, but how could I have understood any of the forms they gave me? I was asked a yes or no question, but I had no choice but to answer yes. And before I knew it, I ended up at the orphanage. I was beyond heartless. I didn't do anything wrong. I was just a little girl. I had to sign so many papers, but why this? The warm and gentle world ended suddenly without advance notice. and I was thrown into a cruel and merciless world alone. Was this the real world? Did I have any friends at all? Just because my parents died and I didn't have any relatives, the world had become so sad. Was the die going to come up with a 6 instead of a 1 to make up for the continuous series of the latter? I really don't like her using the die reference because that's what Rika uses as a die reference, and I'm sorry, but Rika lived through like 100 years of failing and watching her friends be murdered by you. So don't use the same fucking reference. Tears were pouring down my cheeks. Salty taste further saddened and irritated me. I couldn't do anything but cry. But no matter how I cried or pitied myself, the cold rain wouldn't warm my body or save me. I didn't even know where I was or in which direction I should go. Eriko showed me the map to the House of Love and Mercy when we were planning our escape, but we only learned the shortest route. I was completely lost. But strangely, after I finished crying, I felt a groundless strength within myself. I once learned that tears wash away particles in the eyes, but there is different purpose to them too. Tears also wash away what's in the heart. You know what? I don't agree with pretty much everything you talk about, but I agree with that. And I like that line. Tears wash away what's in the heart. I like that. I clenched my fists and forced my feet to move. I headed in the direction that I believed to be correct on the gravel road. The rain was still pouring, and it was getting darker and darker. I roared at the sky amidst the rain. My sadness was turning into anger. You stupid god! Why? What have I done to deserve this? What did I do? I didn't do anything. I was just living a normal life, that's all. So why this? My daddy told me there are good things and bad things, but neither lasts for long. That means this misery won't last for long either, right? I won't be all alone in this miserable place forever, right? Isn't that right? As I looked up, I felt the raindrops hit my face. There is no God. I knew that in my heart. But such disbelief wouldn't save me. If I believed he was there, I should have been saved. No, I needed him to be there. Was he going to answer me? I heard thunder. Then I realized he was there. He was there, and he was listening to me. In his eyes, everyone was supposed to be equal, and he wasn't listening to me. I've gone through enough. More than enough. If I was too happy before, then I could take this misery. But I wasn't. I was living normal. If you ask me if I was happy, then sure. But this is what I get in return. That's not fair at all. I heard thunder again. He was listening. I continued. If this fate of mine was your mistake, then let me be free. Please. End my misery and let me be happy again. But if this is in fact my fate, and I'm supposed to live this way until the end, then I don't want it. Kill me. Kill me now with your lightning. Just finish me. Come on. Kill me ruthlessly right here and now. I heard thunder again. It was loud enough to make me shiver. Normally, I would just hide in the house and wait until the thunder went away. But on that day, I wasn't afraid. Come on. Kill me. Miyoko Tanashi's right here. Just like you killed my parents, take my life too. The heavens replied to my provocation. The heavens took aim at me, a lonely human who dared sling constant, insolent insults at them. That was my wish. I opened my arms. God so he wouldn't miss. However, I guess even God makes mistakes sometimes. Although he's supposed to be fair, he had been unfair with me. She's asking for it. You could have saved a lot of people, God. Come on, kill me! Take me to heaven! But if you fail to kill me, then try turning my destiny around. Pitiful child. A flash from heaven. I thought I smelled something burning just before it hit. The sheer force knocked me to the ground. It was a strange experience. It was something that had just happened, but it already felt like it happened many years ago. I have no idea how long I was down for. I smelled something odd. The bad stench woke me up. When I looked, I saw that huge tree behind me had been split open. Its leaves were smoldering. I looked up and saw sparks in the darkness. I couldn't understand what just happened. I just stood there. The thunderbolt had struck. It didn't strike me, it struck the tree behind me. I didn't get to die. He was telling me to keep walking in the woods in the cold rain. I won my bet with God. I bet my life. I bet my life against the lightning and the thunder. It could have killed me instantly. But he missed. So he had to fix my life. He looked at the sky laughing, bragging I was still alive. I heard thunder again. It was acknowledging its loss. Come on. I can't say. Kami-sama. Save me. I won, so save me. I stood there. I waited for Kami-sama to do something while the rain poured down on me. But he didn't answer me again. I couldn't hear the thunder anymore. Again, I felt the warm tears pour down my cheeks. What was I thinking? If Kami-sama was in heaven, he wouldn't have let anything like this happen to me. My miserable life was proof Kami-sama's non-existence. The darkness was about to swallow me utterly. Would I have to sleep out there? Kami-sama must have wanted me to die slowly in this cold rain instead of granting me an instant death by lightning. I wished the sun would go away. I wished the sun would never rise. I wished that as the woods had grown completely dark, my existence would be hidden by that darkness. I wished that I could just disappear. Had it been an eternity? Or was it a matter of seconds? I couldn't even tell time in such darkness. It was then that I saw something. It was a light. I noticed it only because the woods were so dark. But was it really there? Had it been there this whole time? I felt like the light was inviting me towards it. It was a fluorescent light. I didn't normally like fluorescent lights because I always thought they looked cold. But I didn't feel coldness from that white light. I made myself believe that the light was a guide sent from Kami-sama. I had to believe. Otherwise I wouldn't be saved. The light reflected in a puddle. It wasn't a muddy puddle. It was a puddle on asphalt. I had made it out of the woods and was on a paved road. The light was a street light. Being on a paved road really didn't resolve anything. It was just a country road. It was a road that went through the woods, so there was no houses, no shops, and not even a single car going by. There weren't too many streetlights on the road, so it was still very dark. My feet touched the asphalt. It felt so different from the gravel I had been walking on earlier. It felt almost merciful. My feet had grown used to walking on gravel. But after feeling the softness of the asphalt, I never wanted to go back to the former again. I could only choose between heading left or heading right. I was grateful to Kami-sama for leading me to this asphalt road, but I wish he'd given me a little more guidance. Such a little bit of luck couldn't make up for all the unhappiness I'd gone through. And that was when I sensed his guidance. I saw another light in the distance. It was only on the right side. I headed towards it, and when I got there, I understood what it was. I was amazed to find it there. A telephone booth. Who would actually make a call in the middle of nowhere? A telephone booth in the countryside was rather unusual. There were plenty of red public telephones all over, but I always thought telephone booths only existed in big cities. It almost looked as though the telephone booth had been put there as a punishment for doing something bad. When I thought that, I felt bad for the lonely telephone booth. It reminded me of myself. Even if I went inside the telephone booth, what could I even do in there? I already knew the answer to that question, but no matter what, I just had to get in there. The door squeaked as I opened it. There were lots of moths and other bugs flittering around the light. I usually hated bugs, but in that moment, I felt like they were my friends, sheltering me from the rain. There was no heater, but it was still very warm inside the booth. It sheltered me from the cold rain. Soon enough, I crumbled to the floor. The warmth from the fluorescent light embraced me gently, and I felt like it was telling me it was okay to cry. That I had no more tears left, because I cried them all when the lightning struck. Aching scratches covered my body. My calves were in pain. Everything hurt everywhere, and I didn't want to get up ever again. I wished I could fall asleep. But if I did that, the staff from the orphanage might find me. The windows on the booth were high up, so if I sat down, I wouldn't be visible from the outside. But as it was the only shelter in these dark woods, the staff would be sure to check it. That was why I couldn't stay there for long. Telephone booths from back then weren't completely made of glass, so it was possible to hide inside one. My exhausted spirit understood that I had to move, but I just couldn't make myself. Maybe I was experiencing some kind of vision. I felt a strange calmness that I'd never experienced before. I didn't feel that I was myself. It was very strange. I thought that maybe I was killed by that lightning. I'd assumed I was still Miyoko Tanashi, but maybe I wasn't her at all. I seriously considered those things. Then I started to think the telephone booth had something to do with it. Because Kami-sama led me there. He couldn't have done so just because it was providing shelter from the rain. There had to be something else. I wondered what it was. Could there be something in the booth that could save me? But what? A telephone booth is used to make a phone call, but I didn't have any money. But then, I noticed something that looked like copper. My heart skipped a beat. The 10-yen coin I saw wasn't there before. Did I just miss it? I didn't think so. It must have just showed up. In other words, this 10-yen coin was guidance from Kami. He was telling me to make a call with that coin. But who? There was no telephone book. In that case, I could only call a number I knew. Did Kami-sama want me to do that then? There was only one coin. I could only call one number. And I couldn't talk for that long. had challenged Kami-sama earlier, so it was just a matter of course to think that he was challenging me in return. I only had one chance, and he wanted me to test my luck with that chance. I left the phone book and looked up at the sky. Then I yelled in my heart, "Yvonne!" I wondered who I could call. Who? My house? My parents were dead and I had no relatives. Even if I called, nobody would answer. Actually, the phone bill wouldn't have been paid for a long time, so the phone line would already be disconnected. My house was my lost life itself. No, the debris of my life. Calling home would simply be an expression of regret, which ran counter to the positive attitude of one trying to change their life. So surely using the coin to call my house was wrong, which meant I had cast this 10 yen coin towards my future. Future. My future? What future, anyway? You become a psychopathic 1,000-people murderer. Then, I heard a huge thunderclap which cleared my mind. In that clear state of mind, I saw something from my past. It was the last sight of my father. His final moments on the hospital bed. Though suffering from pain, he tried to tell me something very important. If by chance I am to die, turn to Dr. Takano. Dr. Hifumi Takano. Say it for me. Hifumi Takano. That's right. Dr. Hifumi Takano. He's my former teacher. He will help you. Daddy! Daddy, Daddy, Daddy! Many doctors came into the room in a hurry. He wanted to tell me something else, but the doctors stopped him from talking. It shouldn't have been, but it was to me. I heard it. I heard it, but I didn't want to hear him say it while suffering, so I pretended that I didn't hear. He said it while coughing. I heard it. They were numbers. I swallowed once. That's right. It was. A phone number. He knew nobody would take me in because we had no relatives. He told me to get in touch with Dr. Hifumi Takano. He tried to tell me his phone number. What had I done? He tried so hard, using his last chance to tell me the most important thing. The thunder from earlier had made me remember it. The number I couldn't remember even once came out so smoothly. I dialed it in. This really was it. This was the number for my father's teacher, Dr. Takano. But my hand stopped, just as I tried to put the coin in. What if I hadn't remembered it correctly? No, there was no need to hesitate. I had to believe in myself. This had to be the correct number. I had to dial it before I forgot it again. I picked up the phone and put the coin in. Beep. I heard the dial tone on the other end. At that point, I decided to kill myself if it didn't work. I could go back into the woods and wait for another lightning bolt. I could lie down and let the rainwater drown me too. I could also fall asleep in the middle of the road and wait for a car to run me over. I made up my mind and put the coin in. Didn't hesitate any longer. I dialed the number at once, but I had to be careful. If you dial quickly, sometimes you can make mistakes. I was getting irritated, and that almost made the phone number go vague in my head. I dialed the last digit and heard some electronic sounds on the other end. I hoped I dialed the correct number. I didn't know what to say to Dr. Takano if it did connect. Where was I? What was I supposed to do? What was I supposed to ask him? I didn't know any of those things. Making a call isn't cheap. 10 yen is pretty cheap. One 10-yen coin would only buy me a short time to talk. The line must have connected then. I heard a ringtone. I only had a short time once someone answered the phone. I thought for a moment that I should put the phone down. Then I could at least get the coin back. I could call back after sorting out my thoughts, but then someone answered. Hello? This is the Takano residence. Ah! I felt like I was suffocating. My memory had been correct. I couldn't tell the age of the speaker, but it was a grown man's voice. Anyone who was my father's teacher must have been quite old. Never mind that. I had to hurry and say something. Hurry, hurry! Are you Dr. Takano? Dr. Hifumi Takano? Yes, who is this? He must have been suspicious. I couldn't blame him. A stranger was asking him his name. Of course he'd get suspicious. I'm sorry, I'm Tanashi. Miyoko Tanashi. Tanashi-san? Yes? My father told me to get in touch with you. His name is Takemitsu Tanashi. Tanashi. Ah, Tanashi-kun. I remember him. His voice suddenly changed. Dr. Takano had remembered his old student. I'm his daughter. He told me to call you. Did something happen to Tanashi-kun? Oh, not good. I was going to run out of time. My parents died in a train accident, and I was told to call you. Tanashi's dead? I see. Both of them? I'm sorry to hear that. I knew him from when I was teaching at college. He was a very hard-working young man. I think the last time I saw him was at the wedding. Obviously, he didn't know I was born. But he remembered my father. It was truly a stroke of luck. So, what did Tanashi want to tell me? Well... I didn't know what to say. I was only told to call him. How could I tell him that? My time was running out. I felt more and more anxious by the minute. Phone calls are disconnected without notice. But somehow I sensed it. I only had enough time left for one sentence, so I decided to say one sentence filled with all my hopes. Help me! The phone call got disconnected. Maybe he only heard part of what I said. I could only hope he was able to sense my despair. Couldn't hear anything from the receiver anymore. But I actually talked to Dr. Takano. I confirmed he existed. He existed, and he remembered my father. If he grieved over his student's death, he would come visit my house, and he would find I was sent to an orphanage. Then he would come get me. That's when tears flowed down my cheeks again. I thought my life was hopeless. I never knew that finding even a grain of hope could make me feel so happy and strong. I keep forgetting this is Takano, the most evil person on the planet. I find myself getting, like, emotional, and then I remember, oh right, crazy biatch who murdered thousands of innocent people. And laughed about it. Oh, and lest us not forget, ripped Rika's intestines out while she was still alive. This is this person. The voice I heard on the phone was so warm and dependable. My father must have thought about me for a long time in that hospital bed, and came up with a name he could trust his daughter with. Dr. Hifumi Takano. So I could trust Dr. Takano. I had to believe he would find me. But it might take more than just a few days. I'd have to wait patiently. Although it does explain her devotion to his theory and his research. A few days? A month? More? I could only wait patiently. Either way, I couldn't stay in the telephone box. The staff would easily find me there. I went out into the rain again, but this time, the rain felt a little warmer than before. I had wished to die by lightning. But after that phone call, I was filled with hope and the will to live. I wanted to live, and that was why I felt pain all over my body. When I still wished to die, I didn't feel anything. I had to wait. Wait until he came to pick me up. I had to get to the House of Love and Mercy. That would be the best place to wait for him. I didn't think the orphanage would tell him I escaped to the House of Love and Mercy, but the house wouldn't stop me from calling him. All I'd have to do was call him again and let him know where I was. But I didn't know where I could find the House of Love and Mercy. I couldn't see any signs anywhere, and I didn't even know what direction the orphanage I escaped from was. But I couldn't just stop. I had to walk. I had to find shelter. I had to find someone to ask directions to the house. I had to keep going, because I finally saw the light at the end of the tunnel. Chills and throbbing pain tormented me, but I couldn't die until I met Takano-sensei. I wished a car would come by. If it was someone who lived in the area, I could ask. But the police wouldn't do me any good. I was sure the orphanage had already called the police about our escape, and they wouldn't be forgiving. The police were sure to send me back there. Either way, I wished that someone would show up. Otherwise, I'd have to keep walking on the asphalt in the darkness forever. How long did I walk? Still no car. Just as I couldn't help but think that maybe the world perished, leaving only me behind, a car showed up. I sensed the car coming up from behind me, so I turned around. I saw the headlights approaching me. I thought for a moment. Should I stand in the middle of the street to stop the car? It was so dark. I didn't think the car would notice if I just waved at it. But if I were to stand in the middle of the street, I could get run over. While I thought, the car was getting closer and closer. When I made the phone call, I panicked and didn't know what to say. So with this car, I had to think very carefully. If I couldn't think of anything, that I should just let the car go. With those thoughts vaguely on my mind, I was incredibly surprised when the car slammed the brakes with a screech and came to a stop. Maybe I wasn't all there after the miraculous experience of lightning striking near me. I'd half lost my mind in the woods, so I probably wasn't thinking very straight. Because the car had stopped after recognizing me. In other words, the driver knew who I was. And the only people in the area who would recognize me... Suddenly, a chill ran through my whole body. I started to dash. I heard a voice calling after me. I no longer had the strength to run. My feet were trembling and I couldn't make them cooperate. I realized then I shouldn't have sat down in the telephone booth. That was why I couldn't keep running. I was suddenly grabbed from behind, the collar of my clothes almost choking me. I heard fabric being ripped. I fell in a puddle and a staff member got on top of me. This time his finger wasn't in my mouth. All I could do was struggle. As I did so, I remembered all the scary stories Eriko and the others told me. All the torture the child who was caught had to endure. The drowned ducky punishment, the mashed caterpillar punishment, and the splayed piggy punishment. The names of those eerie-sounding punishments came to my mind. I screamed, struggled with all my might, but it was too late. I was shoved in the backseat of the car. Why couldn't they just let me go? Simple. They didn't want me talking about them to anybody. The staff were yelling, screaming while chasing me, but once they were in the car, they went silent. It was like the Grim Reaper had come to get me. Whether I liked it or not, I'd come to terms with the fact that my luck had run out. I'd called Takano-sensei. So I knew he would come to get me. I didn't know when that would be, but I knew it would happen someday. So I wanted to live. I would be saved if I lived. I couldn't even imagine the kind of punishment that was waiting for me. But even so, I said to myself, I have to live. I'd already found the light at the end of the tunnel. All I had to do was endure it till I reached it. car stopped. We had arrived at the front gate of the orphanage. The 2 staff members grabbed my shoulders so I wouldn't run. My shoulders were very skinny, so it hurt a lot. I was scared. Scared of what I would have to go through. We went through the door, and I was finally sheltered from the rain. In a way, I wasn't sheltered at all, though. It was the middle of the night, and long past time to turn all the lights off. The orphanage should have been quiet. But I heard a noise. It was a strange noise. The noise of a shower. The noise of metal objects crashing into each other. Also the staff's yelling and screaming. A chill went down my spine. What could I possibly write down to fully describe this fear? A staff member knocked on the door of the storage room, and the door opened. The moment it did, an angry roar issued from inside. The sight leapt into my eyes. I couldn't completely take in the bizarre scene before me. 2 staff members were hitting a mat with bamboo swords while yelling violently. It was a mat used in, the one you use when you do gymnastics. But why was it rolled up like that? Was there a kid inside of it? The rolled up mat was tied with a string and was standing up in the corner. The staff members kept hitting it. Usually words are said to a person, but why were they yelling at a rolled up mat? The way they were hitting it and yelling at it, it's as if they'd gone mad. It's a kid, one of the other ones. But wait, I could see something sticking up from the top of the rolled out mat. It was... Let me see. Whose shoes were those? All of a sudden, I froze. I couldn't think anymore. One man stood in front of me. The man's pinky finger was wrapped in bandages. My hands moved upwards from his finger and met with his. The beast's eyes met mine, peering with intent to devour me. I squeezed out a voiceless scream. The voice didn't come out. It was more like a goldfish opening and closing its mouth. The beast stuck his little finger in front of me and roared. I couldn't tell if it was a word or a meaningless shriek. But I was certain it was something abusive. I was scared. I didn't want to die. I wanted to live. I knew that Dr. Takano would show up and save me. That was why I had to live and submit myself to that fear. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The hand with the bandages grabbed my hair and dragged me. All I could do was apologize and beg for forgiveness while hoping the beast had even a tiny bit of mercy in him. It was like a broken, apologizing doll. A mad doll that kept muttering apologies until its key wound down. I was their toy, shedding tears, coughing blood, apologizing in place of clicking gears. I could see into the shower room where he dragged me along. The door was open, and I heard wailing from inside. What I saw was very strange. There was a locker on its side in the shower. What an odd sight. A locker was taking a shower sideways? Oh my god. I never even imagined anything like it before. The locker was taking a shower while 2 staff members hit it with bamboo swords. What the fuck are these kind of punishments? That explained the metallic noise I heard before. The beast didn't want me to see that. He pulled my hair violently and twisted my neck so that I looked in the opposite direction. Then I realized he didn't do that to stop me from watching that shower. He did it to make me look at something else. I saw a window in a courtyard. Usually it was too dark to see anything, but the lights were on and the courtyard was very bright. Then I saw it. inside of the hen house, I saw X. What is that? X and X and X. That hair was Erika's. What? What? What are the X's? Is she dead? I don't want to die. I know he's coming. Please, I know he's coming. I was taken to the staff bathroom. It's stuck of ammonia. What the fuck is an X? I saw an X, which just doesn't fit in a bathroom. Why was this in a bathroom, I thought? He's not... What the fuck is the X? He's not planning to X me with X? No way. No. 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 It kind of takes me out of it when they say X with X. Like, I guess maybe it could be something really bad, but I mean, you haven't gone away from being pretty gruesome in your other... Anyway. Tanashi, this is your punishment for breaking the rules, okay? Everyone must follow the rules. If you don't, you get punished. Do you understand? Sorry. I'll never do it again. I'll do everything you tell me to do. Please. Oh, no, that hurts. No. Oh. I don't know what he did. Oh, thank God. So, once again, I'm just gonna say that I just don't care about Takano. Like, there are a lot of stories, like I mentioned with My Hero Academia, where the villain's backstory is actually really, really good. And then actually, like, they do a really good job of, like, making you feel for the villain. But in this one, just... It would be one thing, like... She gains pleasure. She gains pleasure from ripping people open and from murdering people. Like, she literally is, like, singing and laughing at the end of the last chapter. So it's just, like... It's kind of like, I just don't care. I really don't. Like, whatever, it's tragic. I don't care. Like, this bitch deserves to die. She deserves everything. And I just want to get to Rika and Keiji and them, you know? And so that's why I'm having a hard time with this chapter, reading this chapter, because I'm just like, yeah, she had a tragic backstory. So what? She killed thousands of people and I don't care about her, you know? Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I apologize once again about my rantingness, although you guys seem to like that for some weird reason, weirdos. So please make sure to like and subscribe. It really, really helps me out. And leave a comment below. And I will see you guys later. Jenny.